Last year, a song generated entirely by AI, no human musicians, no human composer, reached the top 20 on Spotify in 3 countries. Most listeners had no idea. Some of them said it was their favorite song of the year.
And when they found out it was AI?
Half said it didn't change how they felt about it. The other half were furious. Welcome to the most emotionally contested episode we've done, AI in Media and Entertainment, where the technology isn't just transforming an industry, it's asking fundamental questions about what creativity means. I'm Oliver.
I'm Olga. Anastasia and Sophia take it from here. And trust us, this one gets interesting.
Media and entertainment is built on one thing: human attention. And for most of its history, capturing that attention meant human creativity. Writers, directors, musicians, actors, editors, people with vision, taste, and the ability to make other people feel something. AI is now operating at every single stage of that process. It decides what content you see. It helps create the content. It generates the content. And in some cases, it is the content. The global media and entertainment market is worth over $2 trillion. The AI segment within it hit $22.6 billion in 2023 and is growing at 26% annually. By 2032, AI tools are projected to touch every single production pipeline in the industry. That growth is happening whether the creative community welcomes it or not. And the question everyone is avoiding, but we're going to answer, is what does that actually mean for the humans who make culture?
3 eras. The first, analog creativity. Human-made everything. The gatekeepers, studios, labels, publishers, broadcasters decided what reached the audience. Supply was limited. Quality was gatekept. The second era, digital disruption. The internet collapsed distribution costs. Anyone could publish, stream, upload. Suddenly, there was more content than anyone could consume. The algorithm emerged as the new gatekeeper, deciding what got seen. The third era is now. AI as co-creator and autonomous creator. Not just sorting the content, but generating it. Not just distributing culture, but making it. The question in Era 3 isn't whether AI can create. It demonstrably can. The question is whether what it creates has the same value, to us, as what humans make. And that turns out to be a much more complicated question than it first appears. 4 big areas. 1. Recommendation and discovery. AI controlling what content reaches audiences at planetary scale. 2. Production tools. AI accelerating every stage of creating content, from script to screen to sound. 3. Autonomous creation. AI generating content with minimal or no human input. And 4. Synthetic media. Deepfakes, voice clones, digital doubles, and the serious ethical and legal questions they raise. Let's start with the one that already touches every single person watching this. Here's a number that should stop you in your tracks. Netflix says its recommendation engine influences 80% of content actually watched on the platform. Not suggested, watched. The algorithm isn't just a helpful assistant. It is, functionally, the world's largest and most influential cultural editor. Spotify's Discover Weekly has over 200 million listeners. The playlist is entirely AI-generated. No human curates it. For most of those listeners, it is their primary mechanism for discovering new music. An independent artist's career can be made or ended by whether Spotify's algorithm decides they belong in those recommendations. YouTube's algorithm is perhaps the most consequential of all. It determines watch time, virality, and therefore advertising revenue. Creators optimize their entire production, thumbnails, titles, pacing, topic selection, around what the algorithm rewards. The AI doesn't just distribute culture, it is shaping the culture being created, because creators are responding to its signals. The question nobody wants to answer: if the algorithm decides what gets made because creators follow what the algorithm rewards, who is actually directing culture? The humans who respond to signals? Or the signal itself?
Let's make the Netflix number concrete. 80% of watched content influenced by AI. What does that actually look like operationally?
Netflix runs over 1,000 A/B tests simultaneously on its recommendation system. Every thumbnail you see has been selected by an algorithm that knows your watch history, your pause points, the time of day, even your internet connection speed. You and your neighbor might see completely different thumbnails for the same show because the algorithm has learned that you respond to character close-ups and they respond to action shots. It goes deeper. Netflix's AI analyses which scenes in a completed series generate the most engagement, and those findings feed back into commissioning decisions for new content. The AI is not just recommending, it is informing what gets greenlit.
So the algorithm influences not just what we watch, but what gets made in the first place.
Exactly. It's a closed loop. AI learns what keeps people watching, tells commissioners what to commission. Creators make content shaped by those signals. AI recommends it. More people watch, loop tightens. Human taste is still in there, but you have to ask how much of what you think you like is what you actually like versus what an algorithm has progressively trained you to engage with. The second big area is production tools. And this is where the change is most rapid and most exciting for working creatives, even as it's most threatening to certain roles. Adobe Firefly integrated into Premiere and After Effects means editors can now remove objects from video, extend backgrounds, and generate B-roll imagery without ever leaving their timeline. What took a VFX team 3 days in 2022 takes a solo editor 3 hours in 2025. Suno and Udio generate production-quality music, full compositions with instrumentation, arrangement, and mixing from a text prompt in seconds. Film composers are already using these as drafting tools. Some productions are using them as final music. Disney and Marvel are using AI face replacement and de-aging at a scale that would have required months of VFX work 5 years ago. The 2025 announcement that a major studio had retroactively de-aged an actor across an entire previously shot franchise using AI on existing footage set off a firestorm of discussion about consent, compensation, and the permanence of a performer's likeness. The efficiency gains are extraordinary. The creative implications are genuinely unsettled.
Okay, this is the episode where we can't avoid the fight. AI in media, enormous creative opportunity or existential threat to human creativity?
Both, simultaneously. And I don't think that's a cop-out, I think it's the honest answer. On the opportunity side, AI is democratizing production capability. A filmmaker in Lagos with a $500 laptop can now access production tools that would have required a Hollywood studio budget 10 years ago. That is genuinely extraordinary. New voices, new stories, new cultures getting to participate in global media in ways that weren't economically viable before. On the threat side, the same tools that empower the independent creator are also being deployed at scale to replace the mid-tier professional. The voiceover artist whose clients are now using AI voice clones. The stock music composer whose library is being replaced by subscription AI tools. The junior concept artist whose entry-level role has been automated. These are real people with real careers, experiencing real loss. But the tools are democratizing doesn't pay their rent.
So the winners and losers are at different levels of the market.
Almost always. The top of the market, the most famous, most distinctive human talent, is irreplaceable and may actually gain because AI makes their unique quality even more valuable by contrast. The bottom of the market, entry-level, volume, commodity creative work, is being automated rapidly. It's the middle that's most vulnerable, and most people in creative industries work in the middle. The fourth area is synthetic media, and this is where the technology meets its most serious ethical questions. Deepfake technology has advanced to the point where video of any public figure can be generated saying anything, with a level of quality indistinguishable to most viewers. Voice cloning requires as little as 3 seconds of audio to generate an unlimited supply of someone's voice saying anything you want. The benign applications are significant. Film studios creating digital doubles for stunt sequences, localizing content into different languages with the original actor's lip movements, de-aging performers. The Screen Actors Guild's 2023 strike centered significantly on AI likeness rights, and the negotiated agreements now require studios to obtain consent and pay compensation for digital likenesses. The malicious applications are severe. AI-generated non-consensual intimate imagery, political deepfakes circulating at election time, fake celebrity endorsements running as advertisements, fraudulent voice clone scams. The FBI received over 20,000 reports of voice clone fraud in 2024 alone. The EU AI Act requires disclosure labeling on synthetic media. Several US states have passed deepfake laws, but enforcement is running far behind the technology, 80%. That's the share of content you watch on Netflix that the AI directed you toward. Think about the last show you loved, the last album that meant something to you, the last video that genuinely moved you. The AI probably had something to do with you finding it. The question is whether that makes the experience less real, or whether it doesn't matter at all how you found something, only what it made you feel. Media AI runs on attention data. Every play, every pause, every skip, every rewind, every share. That data trains recommendation models that learn your preferences with uncanny accuracy. The production tools run on creative corpora, vast datasets of existing human creative work, used to train generative models that can approximate any style, genre, or format. The hardest technical problem isn't generation quality, which is now extraordinary, but attribution and originality. When a generative AI model has been trained on millions of copyrighted works and then produces something that combines elements of those works in a novel way, who owns what it makes? Multiple lawsuits are working through US and European courts right now. The answers will reshape the creative industries, regardless of which way they go.
Let's name the specific risks in media AI because they're different from every other industry we've covered.
3 that keep me up at night. First, algorithmic monoculture. If every platform's AI is optimizing for engagement, and engagement is driven by emotional intensity, novelty, and tribalism, then AI recommendations are systematically promoting content that provokes strong reactions. That's not neutral. It shapes political discourse, social norms, and collective understanding of reality. The Facebook papers show this in social media. It applies across all recommendation AI. Second, the consent gap in synthetic media. Right now, any actor, musician, journalist, or private individual can have their likeness or voice replicated without the permission. The technology exists, and the legal frameworks don't match it. That asymmetry causes real harm to real people. Third, concentration of cultural power. If a handful of AI systems are deciding what the world watches, listens to, and reads, and those systems are owned by a handful of companies, then the cultural diversity of the planet is being filtered through an extraordinary concentration of algorithmic power. That should concern anyone who believes in pluralism.
What does responsible AI look like in media?
3 things: transparency in recommendations. Viewers should be able to understand why they're seeing something and should be able to opt out of algorithmic curation in favor of editorial curation. Mandatory consent and compensation for synthetic likeness use. The SAG agreements are a starting point, but they only cover union members in major studio productions. Independent creators and non-performers have no protection. And disclosure labeling on synthetic content. The EU AI Act's requirement that AI-generated content be labeled is the right principle, and it needs to be adopted globally, not just in Europe. The creative industries are not going to stop using these tools. The productivity gains are too large. The question is whether they use them within a framework that protects human dignity, compensates human creators, and maintains the diversity of human expression that makes culture worth having.
Where does media AI go from here?
3 directions that will reshape entertainment in the next decade. Interactive narrative. AI that generates personalized story experiences in real time, where the plot adapts to your choices not just at scripted branch points, but continuously, at every moment. This is already being built by game studios, and Netflix has publicly explored it. Second, AI music and film as a genre. Not AI helping humans make music and film, but AI-generated creative work as its own genre, with its own audiences and its own aesthetics. It's already happening at the fringes. Third, synthetic performers. AI-generated actors, musicians, and presenters who don't exist, and may accumulate fan bases as large as real celebrities. Virtual influencers already have tens of millions of followers. Fully synthetic performers with AI-generated personalities and back catalogs are a near-term reality.
The question isn't whether AI can make culture. It can. The question is whether culture made without human experience can make us feel the things that human made culture makes us feel?
That might be the most important question in the entire field, and we don't know the answer yet.
Oliver, media and entertainment. 4 things to remember?
1. Netflix's recommendation AI influences 80% of watched content. The algorithm is the world's most powerful cultural editor. 2. Generative AI is democratizing production capability and simultaneously automating mid-tier creative jobs. The impact lands differently at different levels of the market. 3. Synthetic media without consent, deepfakes, voice clones, digital doubles, is causing real harm, and the law hasn't caught up. And 4. The concentration of algorithmic cultural power in a handful of companies is a democratic concern that goes well beyond entertainment. The technology is extraordinary. The questions it raises are even bigger than the technology.
Next, AI in marketing. The industry that knows you better than you know yourself.
Subscribe so you don't miss it. I'm Oliver.
I'm Olga. See you in the next one.